If you drive down the road from Cornell University in upstate New York, you will find the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, where scientists study all about the lives of birds. Many people come by to see the lab's visitor center and to go bird watching along the peaceful trails of the surrounding sapsucker woods. But most visitors don't know that if you wander around the trails long enough, you might come upon a small green barn. And that inside this barn, a team of engineers from the K. Lisa Yang Center for Conservation Bioacoustics build technology used for wildlife conservation around the world. I'm Isabella Marshall, and I'm a research engineer at the Yang Center. I help support the passive acoustic monitoring devices that we build here.
My name is Chris Tesalia-Himes, and I am a field applications engineer for the Yang Center for Conservation Bioacoustics. I've been working here since 1998, and I obviously love working here, or else I wouldn't still be here. So.
My name is Patrick Chapricha. I'm a system engineer here at the Yang Center. I actually started out as a firmware software engineer, but since then I took on more responsibility. So I oversee a lot of the recording systems that we built here.
Here at the Yang Center for Conservation Bioacoustics, we design and create tools that allow us to record and listen to the natural environment, to better understand animal acoustic communications, which in turn helps us to inform policymakers to enact various conservation needs.
Conservation bioacoustics, think of it as how do you use sound to do conservation?
We study all sorts of animals. I think the biggest thing that I help out with is whale research. As a lab, we also do a lot of terrestrial work. Birds are a big part of that, but there's also elephants and primates, and I think wolves. It seems like every day there's more fish. The list goes on and
on. The whole world communicates through acoustics, and we want to be able to listen to and record all of this information so that we can better understand how important acoustics is in communication among the animal world. And maybe through that we can understand how we can correct our behaviors to minimize impact on the animals and make some changes. All it takes is for each person to make one change, and we can make a positive impact on the world.
These are our passive acoustic monitoring device. And this is essentially it's a sound recorder. We basically turn it on, and you can see that now it's actually recording right now. So it's writing the data from this microphone over here into the storage device, which is the SD card that we use here, storage media. A lot of researchers use it for doing bioacoustic recording. So it can put this out in the field and then have it listen to the surrounding and get the sound from that area.
Okay, these are parts of a rock hopper. And a rock hopper is essentially a glass sphere that gets placed into a protective hard hat that has a hydrophone or an underwater microphone on the outside. The signals come in through all of these electronics here, through a preamp board, there's a control board, passive acoustic monitoring board. We use a Raspberry Pi. We deploy these into the ocean to record ambient ocean sounds, animal sounds, animal acoustics, as well as ambient anthropogenic noise, human noise, ship noise, seismic airgun noise. And we're interested in the impact a lot of these sounds are having on animals. And the way we learn about the impact these sounds are having on animals is by building these devices that we can put into the ocean.
So when we release a rockhopper, we send a release command and it comes up to the surface, and it's really deep underwater, and it could pop up hopefully in your vicinity, but it could be kind of far. So we connect this, the Yagi, to a radio, and we listen to the radio and we hear where it gets louder and quieter to try to figure out what direction the rockhopper is in. On top of that, we have a lot of spare parts. So these are all extra wires for our board stack, which is all the kind of internal hardware for the rockhopper. We have our fish knives, which are very popular in the Frog Barn. This is a Frog Barn staple. I've heard they're better than other utility knives. Rumor has it.
So in my last job, actually, we built missiles and warheads. It's a great thing to do. You have to do work in defense. It's not a bad thing, but over time, I just thought, spending a decade in kind of like destructive business, basically doing this sort of thing, I just came to a realization that, maybe I should use my skill and talent to save the world rather than destroying the world in some ways.
I wanted to do engineering because I liked the idea of designing things, solving problems, and all the things that people usually think about when they're thinking about going into engineering. And then when I entered my program, I learned how military focused it was, and I started to get really panicked that I wouldn't be able to find a job that I connected with and felt good about doing. And I think for me, right, work is 8 hours of your day every day, and if it's not something that you care about or are interested in, it just feels like unbearable. And then while I was interning here, I just went on a tour of the ornithology lab, and I heard about the Yank Center, and I heard about the engineers here, and I was like, oh my god, conservation in engineering, this is the thing, I found it.
Something that I'm really proud of is the great team that I have to work with. We have an excellent team of engineers. We have an excellent team of a diverse team of scientists, postdocs, PhD students who are just starting out and trying to figure out how the world works and see what sort of a positive impact they can have.
People who work in conservation because they really care about what we're doing. Nobody is here for the money or it's really because you want the environment to be a better place, and you care about these animals and what's going on and all these big threats, and that is a huge driving factor to loving this work.
I think you gain more appreciation of your surrounding when you start to hear, listen to the birds, listen to the insects and things that are happening around you. And when I'm out in that environment, then I think about what would happen if all these sounds just stopped? You no longer hear any of this sound, and then you just feel like the world's missing something all of a sudden. And at that point, I feel like people would then realize maybe this is something that we should treasure.
Imagine a world without sound. Imagine a springtime without birds singing around you. Imagine a fall without crickets or grasshoppers chirping away. It would be a really sad place to live in. And we require, humans need wildlife for our own benefit, for the food we consume, the pollination of plants, you know, without wildlife and without the ability of wildlife to communicate, oftentimes through acoustics, there is no wildlife, and then when they cease to exist, we cease to exist.